In the past, I've helped a lot of my friends go from having zero programming knowledge to getting a six-figure programming job with no educational background related to programming before. And ever since the pandemic started, a lot more people have been asking me how they can do this, and more specifically, whether or not having, or rather not having a degree will hinder their chances in actually landing a job. Now, this is a pretty controversial topic. I usually find that people are more biased towards the path they took. So a lot of my self-taught friends are a lot more on the I'm self-taught, therefore anyone can be self-taught field. And everyone I know that got a degree is sort of the opinion that someone that doesn't have a degree might not know the fundamentals of CS as well as they do. My opinion on the matter is sort of a bit more of a pragmatic one. I have seen a lot of people go from nothing and get a job, and I've also seen a lot of people use the connections that they have made in school land them a job at a lot of different Fang companies. So I really just wanted to make this video to discuss my thoughts on it, because I know a lot of people that are thinking of learning how to code might not do it because they believe that without a degree, they are an imposter, they might suffer from imposter syndrome, and they believe that the odds are pretty much just stacked against them when it comes to actually getting a job. So the first thing to keep in mind when looking at starting to code is that a lot of the times a lot of people try to make it seem like the only thing out there are Fang companies. And if you're not sure what that means Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, pretty much any big tech conglomerate that will pay you a lot of money, give you the best benefits in the industry, and they have at least 5-stage interview processes. Now, for these type of companies, you do get sort of an edge if you are applying and you have a CS background, and you do learn some of the things in a computer science program that you will apply on the interview process, specifically something called data structures and algorithms, but by no means is it necessary. And a lot of people that actually go and get one of these degrees to practice for interviews for these types of jobs, they will actually spend a lot of their time on a site called leetcode.com, which pretty much anyone has access to. And a lot of my friends that didn't get a degree will just practice on that site and land and ace an interview in the same manner. There's not to say that getting a degree is completely useless and it doesn't help open the doors for a lot of different jobs out there. I personally believe that the software industry is just so big that it doesn't matter which direction you go in, you can still walk out successfully with a job and still enjoy what you are doing. Now, that's not to say I believe being self-taught is the better way, or being a person that gets a degree is the better way. I personally got a computer engineering degree, and on one hand, everything I learned turned out to be completely useless, and I don't use any of it on a day-to-day basis. But on the other hand, I met some amazing people that are now sort of lifelong friends of mine, and it showed me the difference in academia and the actual workforce, in the sense that a lot of the times these professors are just so far detached from what the actual meta of the industry is that everything they plan in their curriculum is sort of useless. And without understanding that, and without knowing that myself and seeing it firsthand, I might not have had the confidence to actually go and start learning programming on my own and getting a job with it, with the knowledge and perspective that you don't actually need that degree to get a job. Now, if you take the self-taught route, it's a bit more difficult because you need to sort of validate your skill in other ways. Luckily, a lot of the times, if you're applying for a job at a Fang company or just a regular software company that needs some software help, you're going to be doing leak code tests and online interviews. A lot of the times, if you do well on those, you can impress your way to the job itself. A lot of people are self-taught programmers themselves, and the sort of self-taught ideology has come sort of full circle to the point where some of the people that you are going to be hired by are self-taught themselves, so they're a lot more empathetic. Whereas 5 to 10 years ago, most people in the industry before it got really popular were people that got there by going through a university degree and just following the standard route of applying online and getting a job. Now, if you're a self-taught programmer, the best advice that I could give to you is find ways to stand out, not just in your skill levels, but also in things that you have done in the past. For example, try working on projects that are actually include other people. Show that you've collaborated with other programmers before. I said in my last video, but if you are someone that has never worked with another programmer, the dynamic is completely different, and And while you're on that interview process, talking to the recruiter, walking them through your code, or the hiring engineer, it's going to be very obvious if you've never talked to someone about code before and if you've never collaborated with people before. Also, contributing to open source is a huge plus because it shows that not only is your code good enough to be accepted into actual big code bases that have professional engineers looking after, but it also shows that you just in general have sort of a genuine like for programming, and it's something that you enjoy doing in your free time. It's also important to realize that you don't just have to get a job at a Fang company or a small mid-sized company in order to make money with programming. You can just as easily make the same amount of money doing consulting work on websites like Upwork or TopTal or Gun.io. And these websites are a lot more pragmatic, which is why I like them, in the sense that they're not just hiring general engineers that are really good at leak code questions. A lot of the times, they're working with clients that actually need things done. They might need their website built, or their backend created, or their database updated. And if you are someone who has a bunch of those skills, it doesn't really matter where you went to school or how many years of experience you have, if you can confidently convey to the actual client itself that you can fix and do the job that he is asking you to do. And it sort of snowballs out of control, which is the great thing I like about doing consulting work, in the sense that the more clients you work with, the more proof that you have that you know what you're doing. And then all of a sudden you've gotten to a point where your work and your past clientele sort of speaks for itself. And you don't have to show them personal projects anymore. You don't have to show them a resume of working at X company for 3 years. You don't need to show them a degree. All you need to do is sort of have a proven history with other clients that prove that you know what you are doing. So all in all, if you are someone who is sitting there debating on whether or not you should go into programming, or maybe you've started learning coding but you sort of feel intimidated because everyone else in the industry that talks about programming on YouTube is someone who has a fancy degree and worked at some big company in the past, don't be too intimidated. And just remember that being in the programming industry is something that's extremely lucky, because not only is there a ton of opportunity and great pay, but it's one of the only fields in the world where you can show off your skill just through things that you have done in a very easy, no-risk manner. Imagine if you were trying to convince someone without a medical degree that you were a great doctor, and all you had to do to prove it to them was operate on a patient to show them that you knew what you were doing. Programming is a lot different than that. Just one online test or one phone interview can really showcase your skills and your abilities as an engineer, let alone things that you have built in the past that can really bolster what you can do as a programmer. Hopefully this video helped you see programming in a more pragmatic light, something that's more realistic than just getting a Fang job and getting free lunches every day, but sort of enjoying what you do, learning on the job more and more, and also being able to provide value for the people that you are working with. And if you have any other questions, make sure you leave them in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.